What would you do if the people you trusted most tried to take away the one thing you'd fought your whole life to keep? My name is Clara, and this is the story of how I turned a moment of betrayal into a lesson no one in that room would ever forget. I was 29, living in a modest but cherished apartment in Brooklyn. It wasn't mucho, one bedroom with creaky floors and a view of a brick wall, but it was mine. Every nail in the wall, every thrift store lamp, every late-night cup of tea at the tiny kitchen table was a testament to my independence. I'd clawed my way out of childhood in foster care, where home was a word that felt like a taunt. This apartment was my sanctuary, paid for with years of waitressing doubles and teaching night classes. It was more than walls. It was proof I'd survived. My husband, Mark, was my rock. We'd met at a community center where I taught literacy classes, his quiet humor and steady presence a balm to my guarded heart. When we married, it was small, just us, a justice of the peace, and a diner breakfast. His family, though, was another story. The Thompsons were old money, their world one of polished silver and expectations. Mark had distanced himself from their control, but his parents, Evelyn and Richard, never let me forget I was the outsider. To them, I was the foster kid who'd snagged their son, a blemish on their legacy. The trouble started 6 months after our wedding. Mark's younger sister, Lila, was getting married, and the Thompsons decided Brooklyn was the perfect place for her to stay during the planning. One Sunday, they arrived unannounced at my apartment, Evelyn in her pristine cashmere, Richard with his perpetual scowl, and Lila trailing behind, her engagement ring glinting like a spotlight. I welcomed them, though my stomach knotted. Evelyn's eyes swept over my home, her lips curling as if she'd stepped into a thrift store. "Clara," Evelyn began, her voice syrupy with condescension. "This apartment is quaint, but it's perfect for Lila while she's here. You and Mark can stay with us in Manhattan. It's only practical." I froze, my coffee mug burning my palms. "Excuse me," I said, glancing at Mark, who looked as stunned as I felt. Richard chimed in, his tone clipped. "Lila needs a base for her wedding preparations. Your little place is close to the venues. You don't need it right now. We'll cover your rent at our guest house." My apartment. My home. They were demanding I hand it over like it was a spare room in their estate. Lila fidgeted, avoiding my gaze, but said nothing. Mark squeezed my hand under the table, his jaw tight. "Mom, Dad, this is Clara's home. We're not giving it up." Evelyn's smile didn't waver. "Mark, darling, think of your sister. Clara, surely you understand family comes first. You've never had one, so let us teach you." The words cut deeper than I'd expected, slicing open old wounds. I wanted to scream, to throw them out, but I saw Mark's face torn between his family and me. I swallowed my anger and said, "Let me think about it." They left, smug, assuming I'd cave. That night, I couldn't sleep. The idea of losing my apartment, even temporarily, felt like losing myself. But I wasn't the scared kid in foster care anymore. I had a plan not for revenge, but for truth. The twist came the next day, unexpected even to me. While sorting through old boxes, looking for documents to prove my lease was ironclad, I found a letter tucked inside a book. It was from Mrs. Delaney, the elderly woman who'd lived next door when I first moved in. She'd passed away last year, but her letter was addressed to me, written in shaky cursive. She'd known about my past, my struggles, and had watched me build my life. "Clara," it read, "your home is your strength. Never let anyone take it from you. If you're ever in need, my nephew, James, is a lawyer. He'll help." A phone number was scrawled at the bottom. I called James. He was kind, sharp, and furious when I explained the Thompsons' demand. "They can't touch your lease," he said. "But let's do more. Let's show them who you are." James wasn't just a lawyer. He was a tenant rights advocate with a knack for turning the tables on entitled elites. He proposed a gathering not just with the Thompsons, but with Lila's wedding planner, their extended family, and even a few neighbors who'd become my chosen family over the years. I agreed, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and resolve. The day arrived, a crisp Saturday in my apartment. The Thompsons arrived expecting to finalize their takeover, their smiles smug. Lila, still quiet, seemed uneasy. The room filled with others, me, neighbor Rosa, who'd taught me to cook empanadas, Mr. Chun, who'd fixed my sink more times than I could count, and James, unassuming in jeans but radiating confidence. Evelyn raised an eyebrow at the crowd, but I stood tall. "Thank you for coming," I began, my voice steady. "The Thompsons have asked for my apartment for Lila's wedding. I wanted to share why that's not possible." I told my story, not just the foster care years, but the nights I went hungry to pay rent, the days I chose this apartment over a better job across the country because it was home. I didn't accuse. I simply spoke my truth. The room was silent, the air heavy with the weight of my words. Then James stepped forward. "Clara's lease is legally binding," he said, holding up documents. "But more than that, this apartment is her right. It's her home, built on her terms." He turned to Evelyn and Richard. "You assumed Clara had no family, no roots. You were wrong. This community, her community, is her strength." Rosa spoke next, her voice thick with emotion. "Clara's been there for us, teaching our kids, helping with groceries, staying up late to listen. She's family." Mr. Chin nodded, adding, "She's fought for this place. You don't get to take it." The Thompsons' faces shifted, Evelyn's smile gone. Richard's scowl softened into something like discomfort. Lila, to my shock, stood up. "I didn't know," she said, her voice breaking. "I didn't know what this place meant to you, Clara. I'm so sorry." She turned to her parents. "This was wrong. I don't want this." The room was still, the silence heavy with shame not mine, but theirs. Evelyn tried to speak, but her words faltered. Richard cleared his throat, mumbling about misunderstandings, but it was too late. The truth had stripped them bare. They left without another word, their entourage trailing behind. Mark hugged me, tears in his eyes. "I should have stopped this sooner," he said. I shook my head. We stopped it together. Lila stayed behind, asking to talk. She wasn't the spoiled princess I'd assumed. She was caught in her parents' world, just as Mark once had been. We talked for hours, and in time, we built a fragile but real bond. My apartment remained mine, but the victory was more than that. It was the moment I realized my past didn't define, might strengthen me. The Thompsons never apologized, but their silence that day said enough. I'd stood my ground, not with anger, but with the quiet power of my truth, backed by a community I'd built without even realizing it. Sometimes the greatest battles aren't won with shouts, but with the courage to say, "This is mine." And in that silence, I found my voice.